Imagine being chased for hours, harpooned and butchered, all for the sake of fueling an industry. Sounds brutal, doesn't it? Well, that's precisely what the whaling industry was known for. In the mid-19th century, this industry was at its peak, a time characterized by perilous and merciless conditions. Picture this. Whales, these majestic creatures of sea, hunted relentlessly. Their end wasn't quick or painless. They were pursued for hours, even days, before finally being cornered. Then the harpoon would strike, a brutal instrument of death, but the whale's suffering didn't end there. Even after death, their bodies were processed, torn apart for oil and other products. This wasn't a simple hunt. It was a protracted, agonizing ordeal for these gentle giants. And it wasn't just whales who suffered. The human crews faced countless dangers, from the risk of drowning to injuries and the ever-present threat of an aggressive whale. The whaling industry was not just about hunting the whales, it was a matter of life and death for everyone involved. If you think being chased by a harpoon sounds tough, try chasing that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and comment below. Whaling wasn't just perilous for the whales. It was deadly for the whalers too. The men who ventured out onto the open sea in search of these majestic creatures were more often than not signing up for a journey fraught with danger and uncertainty. The first and most immediate risk was, of course, the sea itself. The ocean is a relentless, unforgiving entity. In the face of stormy weather and turbulent waves, even the most experienced sailors could find themselves swept overboard, lost to the depths below. Drowning was a constant and very real threat. But the hazards didn't stop there. The process of hunting and capturing a whale was a brutal physical ordeal. Whalers would launch themselves onto the backs of these enormous creatures, armed with nothing more than a harpoon. Injuries were common, from the minor cuts and bruises to the more severe, life-altering wounds. And then there were the whales themselves. These were not passive, docile creatures. They were wild, unpredictable, and when cornered, incredibly aggressive. There are countless tales of whales fighting back, of whaling boats being capsized, and crews being thrown into the icy waters. The epicenter of all this danger was Nantucket. This small island off the coast of Massachusetts became synonymous with the whaling industry. It was here that the term Nantucket sleigh ride originated. This phrase, which sounds almost whimsical, actually refers to the terrifying experience of being dragged through the water at high speed by a harpooned whale. So you see, whaling was not for the faint of heart. It was a high-risk, high-reward industry that demanded everything from its participants. The men who chose this path knew that they were not only hunting whales, but also dancing with death itself. The whaling industry was a high-stakes game where the line between the hunter and the hunted often blurred. The dangers were numerous, the stakes astronomical, and the line between predator and prey invariably indistinct. These men were not just hunters, they were survivors in the most primal sense of the word. The impact of whaling wasn't just felt by the whales and the whalers, it reverberated throughout the world. This was an industry that left no stone unturned, reaching into the farthest corners of the globe and shaping economies, cultures, and ecosystems in ways we're still grappling with today. The whaling industry was a global powerhouse in its heyday. From the bustling ports of Nantucket to the sprawling metropolises of London and Tokyo, whaling was a lucrative business that fueled economic growth and development. It was a trade that connected continents, with the whale oil illuminating the streets of cities thousands of miles away from the open seas where these majestic creatures were hunted. But it wasn't just about the economy. The whaling industry also had a profound cultural impact. It influenced art, literature, and music, with tales of these epic hunts inspiring works like Herman Melville's classic novel, Moby Dick. The industry seeped into our language too, with phrases like Nantucket sleigh ride still echoing the perilous and thrilling chases of whalers after their colossal prey. Yet, this industry came with a heavy price. The relentless pursuit of whales led to the near extinction of certain species. The North Atlantic right whale, for instance, was hunted to such an extent that its population plummeted to a few hundred by the early 20th century. These creatures, once abundant, were brought to the brink of oblivion by our insatiable demand for whale oil and other products. The impact on the oceans was equally devastating. Whales play a crucial role in maintaining the health of marine ecosystems. They help regulate the food chain and contribute to ocean productivity by bringing nutrients from the depths to the surface. By decimating whale populations, we disturb the delicate balance of life beneath the waves, triggering cascading effects that we're still trying to comprehend. The whaling industry left a lasting imprint on our world, one that we're still trying to understand and rectify. It stands as a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked exploitation and the need for sustainable practices to safeguard our planet's future. As brutal as it was, the whaling industry couldn't sustain itself forever. By the mid-19th century, the industry had reached its zenith, but the tide was about to turn. The relentless pursuit of these majestic creatures and the unchecked exploitation of their resources was not without consequences. As whale populations dwindled, the whaling industry began to flounder. The global community started to take notice of the ecological impact. International agreements sprang up, aiming to regulate and eventually halt this destructive industry. Conservation efforts gained traction across the globe, with countries recognizing the need to protect these gentle giants of the sea. It was clear that the era of whaling was drawing to a close. However, the journey to conservation was not without its hurdles. In 2018, Japan, a country with a long history of whaling, made a controversial move. In a decision that sparked global outrage, Japan withdrew from the International Whaling Commission. This decision effectively permitted Japan to resume commercial whaling, a practice that had been largely condemned by the international community. This development served as a stark reminder that the fight for conservation is never truly over. It underscored the need for vigilance and the importance of international cooperation in preserving our planet's biodiversity. Despite the strides made in conservation, the specter of the whaling industry still looms large, reminding us of the devastating consequences of unchecked human exploitation. The decline of the whaling industry serves as a stark reminder of the cost of unchecked exploitation. As we move forward, it is crucial that we remember the lessons of the past and continue to strive for a sustainable and respectful relationship with the natural world. The whaling industry may be a thing of the past, but its legacy still lingers. Like a ghost ship on the horizon, the legacy of whaling continues to cast its shadow. Its impact on literature is undeniable, with Herman Melville's epic Moby Dick capturing the essence of the 19th century whaling industry. This gritty tale of obsession and the relentless pursuit of the elusive white whale serves as a timeless testament to the dangers and brutality of the industry. But the legacy of whaling extends beyond the pages of literature. Despite global conservation efforts, the consumption of whale meat persists in certain cultures. Japan, in particular, has been at the center of controversy, with the country's withdrawal from the International Whaling Commission in 2018 sparking international debate. Though consumption has decreased significantly, the practice continues, a stark reminder of a time when the exploitation of these majestic creatures was commonplace. The story of the whaling industry is a cautionary tale, a reminder of the price we pay when we disregard the balance of nature.